Oh, God, that's good, not plain fucking water. Outside getting my vitamin D. People reducing the sun to vitamin D. It's adorable. And it's next level, fucking beyond. So then the sun's not out. Vitamin D levels are fine, whatever, based on labs. Don't worry about the sun. It's not that important. It's just vitamin D. Fucking vitamin D. We are next level fucking retard. Yep, said it. But not going to make this video about that. You guys can go ahead and delete your D-Minder apps, to which I once promoted until I evolved and adapted and pulled apart this stuff even more. Useless application. There are more things out there you could download that would help you, and the D-Minder app is not it. All right. So this video is to address, there's a lot of people in comments over the last few months that I've been noticing, and I meant to talk about this, is they're taking in my message and observing it and interpreting it in a way that's not accurate and kind of dangerous. So I just want to clear this up because there's a huge lesson here. There's people commenting like, hey TJ, thank you so much for what you do. I rolled my ankle, it swelled up and it hurt. And instead of going to my massage therapist or my chiropractor or the doctor or the ER, I didn't. I stayed. I let it. Maybe I moved it. I didn't ice it because I know that icing delays healing, and you've said that, blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't hurt anymore, and I'm fine. Thank you so much for what you do. And I hear that a lot in varying degrees in different limbs and different parts of the body, and that's what they'll say. They're equating my message to staying out of offices, because we already know why all the offices are not necessary to healing and actually get in the way of it. And I'll touch upon that, all of them. And I'll touch upon that. And sitting at home doing just your regular, ordinary life. And that's what I'm talking about, is healing. And Cassie will even get it on her end, where people think that the way she speaks, and she's going to change it now because she's not going to be bound by a license or legalities anymore, but she's going to speak in a different way. And those of you who have worked with her know that how she presents on a video and how she presents in front of you in a fucking visit are completely different things. But they think that her methods of true medicine are sit around and think positively in the sun all day. And you're just going to magically heal. So I want to address that because this is fucked up. So let's just take something like a rolled ankle. So we roll an ankle, or we jam a finger, or we slip in a fall, and we do these things, like whatever it is. Or we have an experience where the back tightens, or we have numbness and like whatever soft tissue injury you think you have, or whatever you've experienced. You're taking my message in that you're staying out of the offices, which is number one. Like there's nobody you need to go to ever to heal, like to gain the elements of what you need to do to put in your life to change drastically for you to heal. You don't need labs, you don't need imaging, you don't need testing of any kind. It's all there within you, and here we go. So or within your life, from the second you wake up to when you go to bed, you have it all there. You have access to it all. Healing doesn't happen in a facility. It doesn't happen with a practitioner. It doesn't happen with gadgetry. It doesn't happen with a special piece of equipment or a special hack or a special whatever. Take a rolled ankle, take a sprain, take a slip, take a fall, take a whatever. Damaged tissue, body's healing response to the body's inability to absorb force. Force came into the body. It wasn't absorbed by muscle. From toes to thumbs, it goes into tissues not designed to absorb force, like ligaments and bones and discs and nerves and smaller muscles and cartilage and meniscus and joints and blah, blah, blah. Those tissues get damaged. Healing response is swelling, inflammation, pain. Great. We measure the damage being swelling, inflammation, pain to that area, and we want to go look at it and observe it and talk about it and touch it and do all this fucking shit to that and make that feel better. I want to know, why did the force go there? And instead of being absorbed by everything, why did it go there? That's the difference. And why imaging or a test to that specific area doesn't mean anything, or making that specific area feel better doesn't mean anything. So the person now has a healing response to damage, to an environmental thing that they weren't prepared for. Now they go home, they do jack shit. Body's always healing, whether you believe it is or not, or whether you go to somebody or not, or whether you live in the northern hemisphere or not, or whether you're black or not, or whether you're poor or not, or whether you're educated or not, or whether you sell oils or not. It doesn't fucking matter. The body's going to constantly heal. So it's going to heal to this minimal level of just keeping you around and keeping you here. But the thing that happens with injuries, and I'm going to address, because it's going to sound complicated, but here's the deal. It is quite simple. When you do something like that, the body and the brain communicate in such a way that they're infinitely bringing in all these sensations and all these calibrations, all these observations, all these memories to make sure that that doesn't happen again. It remembers what was in your stomach. It remembers what you're looking at, who you were with, the temperature of the air, the barometric pressure, the way the earth was, the contours, the way the tilt was, what you were listening to. Like, it will calculate all that. Why? Because it doesn't want you to go into that environment again and experience what you just did, because that insult was a threat to the existence of humanity. Because if you have more of those insults, you're not going to continue on, and you're not going to perpetuate human existence. And that's all the human being wants to do. The power inside you just wants to keep you fucking here, keep you alive, keep you here. It just wants you living. That's all it does. That's why there's no sickness or disease. There's just healing response. That's why every single thing inside of you that's happening that people are pointing to as dysfunction and attacking you and weakness and flaws and all these things are just the body's adaptation process. Done. It's perfect. So, in order to make sure that when you go into these environments that you like to go into, let's just say you rolled your ankle dancing with your wife, or you jammed your finger at a Little League game, or you're fishing with your family, or you did something so minor. Well, when you go into those, it's not going to like you going back into there. So what has to happen is massive action. Yes, taking yourself out of the environment that created the observation that you weren't ready for that environment is key. You can't keep gardening if your body's not able to adapt to the forces of gardening and your body's told you with injuries. Or you can't keep walking or hiking or biking or swimming or jogging or playing sports or playing racket sports or whatever when your body's told you you're not ready. Pull yourself out of there, and then massive action. Now, for my end of it, it's massive inputs of movement from toes to thumbs to a level greater than anything you've ever experienced before, energetically, emotionally, mentally, intellectually, spiritually, and physically. Pushing yourself from toes to thumbs through movement to a level greater than anything you've ever experienced, especially that one insult right there. And then the body adapts to a level greater than that, and you now go back into that environment or go back into those scenarios where there were threats and there was damage and there was injury, and it was like, holy shit, I remember, this was crazy. And now all of a sudden you have this confidence again to leap over the creek. You have the confidence again to be amorous with somebody. You have the confidence again to casually recreationally perform your sport, or to do things that aren't training, like biking, swimming, jogging, hiking, walking, all those things, farming and chasing kids. So the whole, I went home and stayed out of the office and then just did jack shit and pain went away. You're a godsend, TJ, thank you. No. That's going to happen no matter what. If you modify your life to step above coma, which is I was walking the dog, hurt myself, came in, haven't done anything for 3 months, and the pain went away. Thanks, TJ. So basically you existed to a level slightly above a vegetable. No, not what I'm talking about, but that is a good first step. And so that's what I'm talking about. There needs to be massive effort and massive action when any of these things occur. Well, when you start to look at movement, you start to move how I'm talking about, you will connect the dots to this. You will start to feel when there's fear and apprehension prior to symptoms being greater, like pain or swelling or inflammation. That's kind of the cool part. That's what one of the first signs. I used to be able to walk this trail and jump over these creeks and do these sticks, crawl over these logs and stuff like that. Now I'm nervous to go over these logs. That's a warning. That's an alarm. That's a communication. That's the first step. If we keep going and keep going, then the body's gonna be like, dude, I've been trying to get your attention with these feelings and these changes. I gotta lock you down. So when we rehab, so to speak, or when we train and we bring in these elements this way, you start to feel these things. You start to connect to stuff. That's why I'm staying on what is training, what is not, and why I'm promoting movement being the way I do it, that not many people. Phone overheated. I guess it got its daily dose of vitamin D. So, damn, I was in flow, trying to pick up where I left off. Forgive me if I repeat, forgive me if this is all broken up and fucked up, but this is too important to get out. That's why I promote the way of moving that I do. That's why I promote the style, which is just the way of rehab injuries, that it has to be. It has to be all joints. It has to be from toes to thumbs. It has to be a complete remodeling of the entire organism to be able to withstand forces that are greater than anything you've ever done. And that has to be your training. It has to be saturated in failure. It has to be saturated in emotions, meaning you driving yourself to cover the gamut of what you're going to experience in life. From the lowest level of input in life to the greatest magnitude of life. We have to exceed those. So when you can sustainably move this way and sustainably rehab this way, which is why I promote this way and why I've tested this way and tried to find the bottom of these things and can't, and they keep punching back at me, including the 4 injuries I've sustained this year that I've healed from. And one is like 98% done, but it's going to probably take the rest of the year, but I'm down. I'm functioning better than I was before because every injury is an opportunity. And if we don't function greater than we did before the injury, then something's not right. We're not doing something true. But that's what I'm talking about. Healing is not just staying out of these offices, acknowledging that the body heals itself, acknowledging the body is like powerful and beautiful and all this stuff, and then going home and doing jack shit. When you experience these insults, your inputs through movement from toes to thumbs to a level covering all experiences of life, you need to think that if you are literally going to move your thumb, you're going to move your thumb in rehab, you're going to move it to a level that's to the greater level than any amount of love you've ever experienced, any amount of anger you've ever experienced, any amount of passion that you've ever experienced. You got to try to push yourself to that level. And then the most blah day you've ever done, like the most vanilla day, it didn't demand anything of you, just slightly above that. So you got to cover them all. And you got to do this through your movements, through your approach to that. So every little hiccup, every single one, it's one thing just to acknowledge, again, and I'm repeating, it's one thing to acknowledge that the body heals itself, that the swelling, inflammation, pain that I'm experiencing is healing. And I'm going to stay out of those offices. And I'm going to go over here. But by you staying out of those offices, and by you going home, or by you staying in the vicinity of this beautiful thing called your body, you now have this contract signed by you being born that you need to put in this massive amount of effort and change everything about, in my world, how you will move and experience this world emotionally, physically, intellectually, mentally, and spiritually through the physical tissue, through your musculature, because that's what the body does, is it adapts to the forces of life through the muscle. And muscle is much more than what it looks like, the butt or calves or abs. It is the protection, it is the safety mechanism, it is the mobilizer, it is the getter, it is everything. All right, now what about staying out of those offices? Well, the whole thing about staying out of the soft tissue bullshit offices, symptomatologies, the symptom reducing shit like chiropractic, massage, acupuncture, Reiki, all the other doctors that we got going on, all the other therapies, all the other body workers, all the other shit, is that they will go ahead and do everything necessary to get you to feel better. But the feelings are the healing response. Now, the body's so great that it's not, you're not fucked when you go to those offices. It'll still heal in the face of those dipshits doing what they do. But by you staying out of those offices, you just saved yourself a mountain of more work, the load of more work, because for every visit you pay to them, for every action they do where there's a passive taking away of or getting involved in reducing a symptom of any kind, or them implementing anything of any kind, you have to train these inputs and these rehab inputs body-wide, toes to thumbs, like 4 or 5 times more. It used to be 3 from what I observed. People would get set back when they go do these practitioner things. It'd be 3 actionable inputs of days of training to bring them back. But because we've devolved so much over the last 2-3 years, and we claim that we're ascending, but we're actually devolving rapidly and radically, especially the woke, holistic freedom crowd is the worst. So now I've actually seen that it takes even 4 to 5, because we gotta raise our standards monumentally higher, because just existing amongst all these people around us, the woke crowd are crabs pulling us down in the bucket. And so you just got to do a little more. So staying out of those offices is just preventing you from having to do even more work and saving the energy to put towards you, putting that energy towards you elevating to a level greater, where it's like, I had to apply energy to a level just to offset what they did in that office. Okay, just stay out of there. Go ahead and do this. But I need this to be understood, that what I'm saying is not when you experience injury or when you experience pain or when you experience these symptoms and these feelings, this beautiful construct that is your body's way of adapting and healing. It's not to go home and do jack shit. It is not to sit there and passively lay around and watch it and hope that and then you all of a sudden feel better and somehow you're a genius and the body's done and that's healing and that's rehab. That is not it. That's step number one, to bring yourself out of the environment that you weren't prepared to adapt to anyway. Step number two is you applying these inputs through movement from toes to thumbs to an energetic stimulus greater than anything you've ever experienced in life, emotionally, intellectually, mentally, spiritually, and physically. That is Rehab 101. That is Training 101. So, and then Cassie's is the other way, because there's people being like, I don't understand. I've just been writing Post-it notes and meditating, and that's what Cassie does, is quantum, and that's what... And if you've worked with her, you know that that is absolutely not what she does. And there needs to be massive, massive work and effort. So that is healing. That is your responsibility. And that is the contract you signed by being born. All right, peace out. I'm going to go to a surf competition or surf myself. Train on the beach. Possibly with a +1. Peace out.